So, welcome back, everyone. It has been a while, but yeah, we're here. Test cricket's back as well, and England have won a test match. We can't believe it. We absolutely can't believe it. Come on. But sadly, James Watson, our dear friend, has fallen victim to the A-levels, so he'll be unable to join us today. Hopefully, we'll see him again soon. But yeah, boys, what did you make of that first test? Thrilling stuff.
It was good-ish.
It
Kind
was
of.
sort of good, then bad, then bad again, then good. It was an interesting one.
That's cricket. First of all, it's brilliant how anglicised this podcast is. We have a brilliant IPL. We just do absolutely shit all for that. When a test cricket's back and a pretty shoddy standard 4-day test, we're right on it, commentating on it, and I love it.
It's the way to be. It's proper cricket is back.
Was it proper test cricket, though? It was interesting. I do love a good low-scoring affair. But, you know, first day of a test match, decent wicket, not great, but...
It wasn't good. It wasn't.
Win the toss, bat first, and get skittled for 130. It's not great cricket. It's good for an England supporter. But then we also... Yeah, it was like 17 wickets lost in that first day. Interesting, to say the least. But decent entertainment. Test cricket value, not perhaps as good as we've seen.
Nah, that was a bowler's paradise, though, for the first 4 sessions.
It did get flatter.
It was flat by the end of it, which is why we managed to score some runs. But it wasn't a great... I didn't think it was a good deck, personally. I thought it was pretty average. Inconsistent bounce. Harry Brook took 4 for 15 in the first innings, didn't he?
Matt Potts.
Matt Potts.
Who did I say? Harry? Oh, he's a bowler. He's a batter. He should be playing, actually. It's just in my head. See, I'm selector. The other one, yeah.
It was very, very, very village, I thought. Like, you know, probably the 3 things I take away most from that test match is obviously Root's ton, but, you know, I'll get to that later. But Colin de Grandhomme and Johnny Bairstow, the 2 most village people on display. Bairstow, his second innings performance was the most beta male thing I've ever seen. Carl Jameson, who's bowling absolute rockets at the moment, seaming it both ways, swinging it both ways, and Bairstow was trying to pump his chest out, driving through the gate, bowled, last ball of the spell.
I don't think he's pumping his chest out. I just think it's that big now.
Well, that's one thing de Grand Penis and Bairstow have in common. It's the big rig. They do both have mighty rigs on them, which is heavily respectable. Whether it should be in the test arena in both of their cases, like in the case of de Grand Penis, in that second innings when Broad got his heels up, he was on a bit of a roll, getting the crowd going, and then LBW shout going miles down leg. He just decides to take a little wander down the pitch, do a bit of gardening. Pope's eager mind decided to run him out. That was village, first thing from him, and then he also bowled out the England captain Ben Stokes and decided that he'd put his foot a couple of centimetres further forward than it usually is and bowl a no ball and then let our test captain get to 50 and probably win us the game, basically.
What happened now, I think, was you know, he had a call from the bookies early in the morning, so had to get out really quickly. So just, you know, waltzed outside a bit, got run out, took the call from the bookies, said, "Oh, okay, right, you're bowling a no ball to Ben Stokes. Ben Stokes has to get a 50 today. We'll make you a rich man," which in New Zealand's probably like a few sheep. And then so it's a great performance from Colin. You know, he fooled the English public, but not me. I think it was an absolute masterclass for him.
It was quite Mohammed Amir-esque, actually. I think
at Lords as well.
Yeah, it's like the second coming of Christ, in the shape of an illustriously well-built Kiwi man. But yeah, it happens.
On a slightly more serious note, we just touched on that over in which de Grandhomme was dismissed. That Stuart Broad over, and I sort of spoke about it briefly, it not being perhaps the best test cricket, but that over seriously got the juices flowing. So before he even got Daryl Mitchell out, Broad was getting the crowd up, nicks off Daryl Mitchell, and then, you know, de Grandhomme the next ball, and then Carl Jameson almost the exact same way except it hit stumps. But yeah, and everyone was rolled up. It was just fucking amazing. Everyone was going mental, and that was test cricket. What test cricket is about for me. Jimmy and Broady back in an England shirt, a fucking disgusting England shirt, by the way.
I like it. I'm sorry, I like it.
Nah.
Oh, come on.
No, I'm a fan.
So the fucking IPL has got more sponsors in it. It's got too many sponsors and it's got 2 on it. That's too many. It's got to be 0 if 1. The numbers on the back's bad enough. disgusting shirt. It's almost embarrassing to watch us play in it. Also for people who watched it on Sky, remember them cinch adverts from last summer with that really annoying man doing the car adverts?
Yeah.
How glad are we that he's not on it anymore?
Yeah.
We've got some nice trading company, nice clean cut trading company, very simple adverts, and we have someone screaming about Toyota Priuses on a 20% discount every time Jimmy takes a new ball. Thank fuck for that. Test cricket is back.
And Jimmy Anderson is back, and that's something we should talk about. I think he deserves his time in the limelight. Comes back, takes no wicket in his second over. I think so. In that first morning, he bowled 6 overs, and there was 1 scoring shot off the bat, which is a boundary. So he took 2 wickets, I think.
For 2 for 5, wasn't it, of 6 overs?
It was 4. I think it was 1 scoring shot. Yeah, 2 for 4 of 6 overs, 5 maidens. I mean, he's inevitable, isn't he? It's Jimmy doing what he does best. It's so good to see him back in the England shirt. I think he could genuinely stay with us until he's like in his mid-40s, rolling in a wheelchair and just roll his arm over, still get it swinging both ways. Yeah, that was incredible to see.
He's just always there, isn't he? I think, unfortunately, I reckon it'll be his last year in an England shirt. I feel like he'll do his time over here the English summer and then bow out on his own terms, hopefully, rather than getting to a point where he's kind of shunted off.
Another point I'd quickly like to raise is Ollie Pope batting at 3 is probably the most uncomfortable thing I've ever watched. I'd compare it to being run over by a car, or perhaps actually people watching me bat. It's probably even more painful than that.
No, there's much more elegance in your lavish swing of the bat, Dickens. Very much so.
You don't average 29.5 for no reason. That's all I'm saying.
Probably not dissimilar to Ollie Pope, to be fair.
On that, what do you think Ollie Pope should be batting at 3? Because, I mean, he hasn't even had a particularly good season in the county champ. He's more being just picked on like potential. He's been decent, but he's also never batted at 3 in his first class career.
No, and his home game is the Oval, which is the flattest deck in the UK, I'd argue, and especially with the championship this year, with 4, 5, 6 blokes were kind of all in the running for getting 1,000 runs prior to May.
Yeah,
him not being one of them, may I add. But I think with the rejig of the order, he can't play a moving ball and he can't play spin, so it's kind of the lesser of 2 evils. He looks slightly less bang average if you nick off the seam as opposed to standing there on a sticky green one and just missing a turning ball. So I'm not the biggest advocate of Ollie Pope, I can't lie to you, but I don't know. I want Harry Brooks in, he was in my head earlier. I think he should be in there as well.
Do you want him batting at 3 though? Because I think that's also too high for him.
Probably not. But who do you bat at 3? You don't really have anyone there. You
I'd probably go Josh Bohannon.
Very rogue.
I go Josh Bohannon at 3. I drop Lees, and then I get Ben Compton at the top.
Bring James back.
James Vince.
Yeah, just bring him back because we're gonna be 1 down or 2 down anyway in the first 10 overs. So you might as well have a bloke who's gonna biff a few, look beautiful doing it, and then do something silly, and then just bring Root in. So
if he doesn't bring any cricket happiness, I guess, to the fans, at least it brings some sexual appetite to all the viewers out here. So that's one benefit of having James Vince inside.
I think we should actually put Vince on par. We've been talking about, the commentators we talk about, McCullum's going to install like a fresh brand of exciting cricket, and yet we've still got Lees, who looks like Kez from We Cricket, and his guard is about a Mercedes length outside off stump. So I'd almost put Vince at opening because he's pretty solid outside off stump, unless it's anything on 4th stump. Now I'm saying it. But
reading that second slip.
I feel like if McCullum wants to take an exciting brand of cricket, what he needs to do is steal Shan Masood. Like, we've got to find a way to kind of rope this man into an England jersey. I mean, I feel like logistically we may struggle, but if there's an opportunity for it and you've got a man like Baz to kind of do something, I'm sure we could slip him a bit of cash and maybe, just a lot of cash maybe, and then bring him in. I think he opens up. Crawley, he's doing a job at the moment, isn't he? But still, no one really wants to see him.
I genuinely, as much as I do quite enjoy watching him bat, he plays in quite a nice sort of positive manner, but I have genuinely no confidence in him whatsoever. Like when he strolls to the crease, a new ball, like Tim Southey moving away from him, I'm like, any ball he could get out here, realistically. His defence doesn't really look like solid enough. He'll cream a few cover drives, but other than that, he's never really going to make big runs in England. I know he did against what was it, Pakistan?
Yeah, he had the bloke bowling 120 kilometers an hour for 60 over spell. Like,
yeah,
it's not great cricket. But just touching on Crawley's technique, I incidentally about half an hour ago watched Atherton's analysis on Crawley's technique, and you can see when he bats, he's just going to miss it when it's straight. His bat's coming down in a horrible angle to like mid wicket region. And, I think that New Zealand attack, minusing Wagner in there, it's not a bad attack, but it's not going to blow you away. It's not, if you go back to maybe the Aussie attack in the Ashes, they're all bowling at least 10 kilometres quicker and still moving it. You kind of got blokes such as Jameson, who's not that quick. Granted, he's tall, he's a good bowler, but you shouldn't be getting troubled by that as much. And I feel like once we get into a proper test arena, we're pretty fucked. Still with openers, like we're pretty fucked.
Yeah, we've got to get Ben Compton. He's been scoring buckets. He's scored 5 tons this season, I think.
He's scoring buckets, but again, it's championship cricket against non-international bowlers on flat decks.
Yeah, but you've got to pick the people who are doing the best.
You should. Yeah, I agree. But then why hasn't Darren Stevens played for the last 10 years?
That's a good point.
And now he can't even get the first team. He's playing twos cricket because the decks are so flat, and he can't come in and wobble around with the fucking Zimmer frame and nick blokes off left, right, and centre. But I think the championship has become a batter's game. Yet England don't have any batters. But obviously, Mr. 10,000 runs Joe Root. But yeah,
I think that moves us on quite nicely to that man. Dickens, give us a few words on that man.
Joe Root, it's like feeling inside my bones when I watch him bat. It's not just a pleasure. It's a pleasure beyond all pleasures I could think of on this earth. Maybe God, if he exists. Maybe something between. If we're on a scale, maybe God, 2 a.m. Mackies, Dominoes, just in general. Joe Root. I think that's about. I think I put.
Wait, did you say Lana Rhodes?
No, Dominoes.
We said Lana Rhodes for a second.
Lana Rhodes, Dominoes, Joe Root. I think, yeah, and
in that order.
It was really fitting, and it was really nice for him to get 100 that day.
I think we're going to see a lot more of that from Joe Root as well. I think the way he kind of conducted his innings. Granted, we had Stokes kind of going out there playing for a few overs the aggressive role to kind of take that new ball out of the equation, but he looked so much more calm at the crease, kind of like a weight had been lifted off his shoulders. I think in the post-match interview as well, you kind of tell he was really relieved, but also I think everyone wanted to do well, obviously. I think he did do well. Obviously, that's obvious to see. He's got 100 at Lords. But I feel like maybe not Stokes, but for now, if Root can put his woes of captaincy aside and bat how he has done there, we might not be as shit as we have been.
So, yeah, we've spoken about Joe Root there. We've spoken about Ben Stokes there. I'll draw attention to another aspect of this England team, which is up for debate. We've seen 2 debuts. Matt Potts, he's done exceptionally well to play next game, obviously. But another one, Matt Parkinson. So I don't think Jack Leach he's still concussed for the next match, right?
That was as bad as it. That was bloody funny, I might add. The bloke lasted 6 overs or something like that before he's gone and headbutted the floor.
It was such a shame because it was such a good save as well. He rolled over and his massive forehead was like on show because his hat fell off.
It was brilliant. He hit the deck hard. It's really good viewing, actually.
But, so yeah, Matt Parkinson, what do we make? Should he be picked?
I like the idea. Execution probably wasn't there in his first test. I think his first spell, you could tell he was nervous. He was quite tight in his action. He also bowls bloody slowly. I don't think I quite realised in comparison to test match spinners how slow he bowls. But I think he's one for the future, definitely. I think he probably could have had opportunities before. But there is actually a bit of a plethora of spin somehow coming through in England at the moment.
He's definitely earned his place, I think.
I'd agree, yeah.
He's been carrying around the drinks for like 2 years now as well. He's been involved in a lot of squads. He's performed pretty well in the county champ. He took 4 wickets the other day, I think, which is pretty good going, being a leg spinner. And it was also quite fitting, this Lord's Test being like the Shane Warne remembrance test, basically. Just having a leg spinner coming in. It was a bit of fresh air. Haven't really seen leg spinning test cricket for a long time, actually. No. It was really good to see it, just like getting out there. Took the wicket of Tim Southey, I think it was.
It was a good wicket, that one.
Yeah. Basically just a half volley, but
Holly on about ninth stump.
Very well thought out. Very well thought out wicket, to be honest. It's funny. Parks is a lovely, lovely guy, but Jack Leach's not the cleverest man in the world. Even after his concussion, Matt Parks is probably still a thicker bloke than. But you know, he only knows how to turn the ball, and he's turning it a long way. At Lord's day 2, to be fair, I was like asleep through most of the time when he bowled because it was that boring when Mitchell and Dunn were batting. But he tied it down. He goes at less than 300 over. That's better than Leach or Moeen Ali could do. So keep him in.
I'd also just like to quickly pose a question on Mr. Parkinson. Is that hair it's receding at an alarming rate, and obviously we saw in 2013-14 Ben Stokes kind of no hair. Now he's got a full head of locks. I'm just wondering maybe if Parkinson's had a chat with his new captain and seeing if he'd be able to recommend him a nice place to get his lid sorted. Be interested to see if the longer he plays, if that hair starts to make a comeback. But
yeah, he's adopted a funny approach there, Parkinson, because I mean, he can easily like grow his fringe out a bit, like I do, because I've got a fucking massive forehead as well.
I wear a hat, buddy.
Still doesn't really hide it as well.
No, I'm hiding the hairline, mate, not the forehead. I've got the lesser of two evils.
But yeah, Parkinson, he's clearly not that affected by it because he's like got his forehead on show and he's just got like a tiny little fringe there. I mean, he can easily grow it out. It's just quite peculiar.
It's just he's got that rugged, boyish charm, hasn't he?
Yeah, he really knows how to handle a man. You could tell. Actually, no, with that haircut, he knows how to handle a child. Actually,
that's a horrible talk. Just a quick disclaimer: Matt Parkinson is not a paedophile, and I don't condone this sort of speech. Joe Farndale, you're a disgrace. I think you should think about what you've just said. But sorry, moving on.
Right, boys. Do you boys have anything else to say? There's not much else to add, really. I don't think.
No, I'm trying to think if anything. Oh no, Joe Root being a magician. What was going on with that bat?
Oh yeah, do you see that?
What happened there? How was it stood that? It was stood on a bias as well. I don't quite know how he managed that.
I think he's just so in control of his like bat. Anything around the crease, he's just like in control of it.
There was some.
Rules of physics don't apply for him when he's like just at the crease.
That was some.
Stand there, put the bat on its end, and it just stood up somehow.
On that bombshell, yeah, I think we covered everything. It was an interesting test match, but I feel like it was kind of undeserved on England. I think we only won because New Zealand lost, and
we won because de Grandon was shit.
Well, because New Zealand lost. That was terrible.
New Zealand lost it on the first day. Again, Roots covered up the cracks. And it's only a matter of time before New Zealand's are 2-1 up in the series, and they're going back to their sheep shagging nation and declaring victory again.
So, like on that note, that probably sums it up, doesn't it?
Right. Well, it's been a pleasure, boys.
Nice one.
Thank you very much. Nice guys.